Thank you very much to ISC for this wonderful conference and an opportunity for me to present my work here. I'm from the same institute as of the previous speaker, Professor Matsumi, and I'm one of the Made in India components in his laboratory who work on electrocatalysts. Might be the topic itself might be looking very specific, but I'll try to keep the topic much simple in a way possible to understand by everyone here. So, as the convener was talking about various sustainable energy required for the energy, also the global improvement, here I have one step forward, one step towards this sustainable energy growth, where we can have electrocatalyst which can be prepared for the fuel cell. Fuel cell is a hydrogen energy based device which converts hydrogen energy to electrical energy. That's well known now, and it has been there for decades in this research arena. But however, there is a lot of problems related to that. So now we will look into the introduction of this, the need for hydrogen energy, and also how we are going to move one step forward in making this device a reality. So, as Professor, the convener was telling about the problems, the whole globe is being moving around with the dark clouds of global warming, depletion of fossil fuels, and pollution. And here, the ray of hope is the renewable energy, and hydrogen energy is one of the renewable energy which seems to be promising. And as rightly named by the major automobile firm Toyota, it's named its first vehicle, fuel cell vehicle, as Mirai. Mirai in Japanese means future. So hydrogen energy is looked upon as future energy, and how to convert this hydrogen energy into electrical energy is by this device, the fuel cell. And to look into the fuel cell, if you see, the fuel cell has got two lobes, the two sides, divided by a membrane, that's a yellow colored membrane in between, and the left side membrane is called the anode, where the hydrogen is taken in and it's split into the protons with two electrons released from there, and this two electrons is used in the circuit, or it's used for some work. And this proton travels to the right hand side, and here we have the oxygen entering, and this oxygen reduces with the proton on a catalyst. And this catalyst is very important because this completes the circuit, and moreover this reaction itself is very slow, which makes the fuel cell efficiency lower. And also this catalyst requires platinum. As we know, platinum is a very rare metal and is very costly. So the whole overall cost of the fuel cell is dominated by this electrocatalyst. Hence, preparation of this electrocatalyst requires lots of aspects, like the preparation method itself is needed to be looked upon, and second, we need to reduce the amount of platinum that is used in this electrocatalyst. Also, it should work efficiently. So these are the problems which is currently looming around fuel cell. Now, if you see the various preparatory methods for this electrocatalyst, there are a number of ways which is giving efficient electrocatalyst, but all of which has got something to do with the hazardous material, like using a reducing agent which contaminates the nature, or use of a very highly toxic material like in alcohols which are not very green presently, and the government has lots of rules to curb the use of such polyols. So we need a method wherein we can use very simple, like even aqueous system, like water alone should be sufficient for making this electrocatalyst in presence of sunlight. So if we have a method where we have only sunlight and water, if we can make a electrocatalyst, then it will reduce the cost immensely. So this is the idea. So in literature we have got many methods, like the chemical methods, the electrochemical methods, photochemical methods are also available, but not fully used in industries. The pulse laser methods and the sonochemical method, also the microwave methods. However, today there is no work which has used photo generation for preparing the electrocatalyst. And recently our group produced a electrocatalyst which was highly efficient and which crossed the Department of Energy target for 2020, and the cost was also half of what is produced by the commercially produced electrocatalyst. And this electrocatalyst also had good durability and is supposedly one of the promising electrocatalysts. But one small glitch in this electrocatalyst was that it uses a small amount of alcohol for reducing the platinum onto this carbon. So basically in preparing this electrocatalyst, we need a carbon substrate that acts as the conductor, and also a platinum catalyst which is studded over the carbon. So there is a carbon catalyst, carbon support, and a platinum metal incorporated over the carbon. So while incorporating this platinum over the carbon, there is a platinum precursor, say chloroplatinic acid, which is reduced by some chemical onto the carbon. So this is the total framework for preparing a good electrocatalyst. And so we stand at a point where we need a better methodology in use of reducing agents. Like we should not use reducing agent directly. We should be able to convert solar energy into, we should be able to use the solar energy as a reducing agent for incorporating the platinum over the carbon. And then the complex preparation methods should be avoided so that the manufacturing cost comes down. And the slower methods to prepare efficient catalyst should be replaced with a faster method. And the use of high platinum amount should be reduced. Now the current commercial catalyst is at 58% of platinum. So if you are able to reduce it even by half, will be the method will be proving advantageous. So we try to use the photochemical method, that's use of photocatalyst, making the method more environmentally benign and non-essential for non-essentiality of separating the photocatalyst from the preparatory solvent, and lower amount of platinum are few of the features which we have addressed here. Now this is not a magic, it has a science behind it. That is, when we use a photocatalyst like TiO2, the TiO2 is a material which gets excited in the presence of UV light. So the electron that is there in the valence band, that is non-active electrons in the valence band, they can get excited in the presence of UV light, and this makes the electron being used for some other job. So when the electron jumps from the valence band to the conduction band, the electron reduces the chloroplatinic acid, which is the platinum precursor, and this platinum gets studded over the TiO2 itself. That is a literature which is there long back in 1984, but after that there was no subsequent work on this area, and there was a silent period till 2014. Again this was revoked, and people thought that this might be useful, or this might be beneficial for the electrocatalytic sector. So then they came up with the idea, but they miserably failed because of the use of various other components. And now we would like to see exactly how this mechanism works. So if you see here, there is the black background, which is the carbon, and this white circle, which is the TiO2, the photocatalyst. Now the electron which is dormant in the valence band is excited to the conduction band, and the electron is now available for some reaction. When the precursor of the chloroplatinic acid comes near this electron travels to the chloroplatinic acid and reduces it to platinum. Now, the same way, when we don't find so now when the excited electron travels onto the carbon, because carbon has got a similar band structure to that of TiO2. The electron, instead of traveling within itself, it travels down to the carbon and it reduces the chloroplatinic acid available on the carbon sheet. So now our idea of preparing a electrocatalyst by using the excited electrons of TiO2 is achieved here. So platinum gets loaded onto the carbon all over the surface in a uniform way. So this is the concept, and now I'll show you the results which will prove that this is possible in manufacturing sector also. And before going to that, here is a simple schematic of what we do exactly. This is a two-step process where we mix the TiO2 carbon composite. We mix the TiO2 and the carbon. by ultrasonication, and then we irradiate with UV light, or normal visible light is also sufficient because it has got enough amount of UV to excite the TiO2. And once this is done, we get the composite electrocatalyst. And we have here sufficient number of substrates or samples which we made in our lab, and all this are made by 3 different carbon substrates. One is the graphite, another is the graphene oxide, and the third one is the carbon nanotubes, CNTs. And also in case of TiO2, we used the TiO2 particular form as well as the TiO2 nanotube form, because TiO2 nanotubes as such has got larger surface area like CNTs. So we thought might be TiO2 nanotubes might be a better effective way to produce this electrocatalyst. Here is a reference image of the TiO2 and the TiO2 nanotubes which we used. As we see, it's spherical in nature and has got around the TiO2 particles is around 25 nanometers in 50 to 60 nanometers in size, while that of the TiO2 nanotubes is around 130 nanometers in the pore diameter. And we can see that there is no impurity over the surface and it's compact. Whereas when we finish the experiment and when we do the characterization, we see that the TiO2 and the graphite is studded with lot of black particles. These black particles are called photodeposits because we don't know whether it's still platinum, converted completely to platinum or not. So these photodeposits were analyzed by a method called XPS, X-ray photoelectron spectroscopy, and we found that these particles were in fact showed the presence of platinum. And when it was resolved further, higher resolution, we found that the platinum was in fact in its native state, zero state. That is, the platinum undergoes a lot many oxidation states which are not suitable for electrocatalyst. We need a platinum zero state which is suitable for being used as an electrocatalyst in fuel cell. So this high resolution XPS showed that the platinum was in its zero state and it can be used for electrocatalyst. Now, when we saw when we carried out the similar experiment over graphene oxide, as you might be knowing, has got lesser of conductivity compared to graphite. So the conductivity issue played a major role, and we couldn't find any platinum on the substrates surrounding. So when we use the graphene oxide as the material or the substrate for electrocatalyst, it's not possible to use the photocatalytic method, and this is a major hindrance for cost effectiveness. But of course, thinking from the angle of graphite, we can say that still this method owes some opportunity. And the XPS also confirmed that the platinum was very minimal in quantity and did not show much intense peaks. Now, coming to the carbon nanotubes, of course, carbon nanotubes again showed a lot of good distribution, because carbon nanotube, as you know, has got good conductivity as a carbon allotrope, and the platinum was studded all over the carbon nanotubes. And this was found that the TiO2, the range of platinum available on the CNT was around 100 nanometers away from the TiO2 nanoparticle. That is to say, the electron is able to diffuse through the carbon nanotube to a larger extent and is able to reduce the chloroplatinic acid at that distance. Also, the XPS proved that the platinum zero state was in fact intact and it could be used as an electrocatalyst. And finally, coming to the TiO2 nanotubes as the photocatalyst, here again we were able to see that TiO2 nanotubes were able to uniformly disperse the platinum nanoparticles over the carbon nanotubes, and also the high resolution XPS showed that there was a quite a large band shift. The binding energy was shifted by more than 0.5 electron volts, which is quite a huge amount, which shows that this platinum studded over carbon is quite compactly stuck to the substrate. It is being held nicely to the carbon substrate. So durability might be a very good factor. So it will be very, the material itself when used as electrocatalyst in fuel cell could be durable. So here is a summary of all the samples which we have made, and as we see, the photo-generated platinum on graphite showed around 2.3 nanometers of platinum size on carbon, and the size of platinum on TiO2 was around 3 to 5. That is, we have two types of platinum now. One that is studded over the photocatalyst and the other studded over the carbon. The particle size of the platinum studded over TiO2 is bigger than that on the carbon. And as told before, the platinum on studding over graphene oxide did not happen at all because of the conductivity issue, but the platinum on the TiO2 is again around 2 to 6 nanometers in case of graphene oxide also, and the remaining two samples had a platinum size of around 1 nanometer on the carbon and around 2 to 4 nanometer on the TiO2 photocatalyst. Also, the binding energy was around 0.2 electron volts shifted for the TiO2 on CNT and around 0.58 shifted for TiO2 nanotube with CNT. So now this is not sufficient that we have made the electrocatalyst, but we have to prove that the electrocatalyst can really work in a electrochemical environment. That is to say, we have to prove that the electrocatalyst can be viable for use in fuel cells. In order to do that, though setting up a fuel cell itself is very costly, so at laboratory scale we use a technique called cyclic voltammetry, where the cyclic voltammetry has a fingerprint region to show that our material, the electrocatalyst, can effectively work in a fuel cell. These fingerprint regions are depicted on the right hand side corner top. So if you see this, there is a huge peak on the left hand side, starting from left hand to right hand side of the voltammogram there. So we have the right hand, on the left hand side there's a peak which is for the hydrogen evolution region or the hydrogen resorption region, which is very important for us to know that the platinum is studded over the carbon. And as we go up to the right hand side, then we see that there is a oxygen evolution reaction taking place, and as we come down there is the oxygen reduction reaction taking place, that is the right hand side bottom. And this ORR or the oxygen reduction reaction is the qualitative indicator to show that our material can be effectively used for electrocatalyst in fuel cell. And at the left hand side corner again we see a deep peak, which is to show that the hydrogen adsorption takes place effectively. And now when this is quantified in electrochemical sense, we have to say that it has got such and such a electrochemical surface area, active surface area. So electrochemical active surface area is different from the physical surface area. So we have to quantify it so that how effective is our catalyst. So when we see this and compare it with the commercial catalyst, which has got 58% of platinum, we see that our catalyst is almost in par with the commercially available electrocatalyst. The commercial catalyst is the right hand side most corner, the bar, and this is around 77 ECSA, electrochemical surface area, gram per centimeter square. And we see that our catalyst, the CNT based ones, are almost in par with the commercial catalyst. And here I would like you to note that the catalyst which we have prepared has got at a maximum of 58% of platinum, which is 10 times lower than the commercial catalyst, and still it behaves as close to the commercial catalyst. Now there are other techniques which further substantiates that our electrocatalyst is usable, is some electrochemical characterization which also depicts the mechanism in which the electrocatalyst can function. And we found that all these materials which we prepared undergoes a 4-electron transfer mechanism, which is the most effective way in which the reaction can take place in a fuel cell. So yeah, for example, when electrocatalyst does not work properly, it undergoes a 2-electron transfer process, which is not effective, which is not efficient, and leads to lot of other byproducts. Whereas when it goes to the 4-electron transfer, which is proved by this technique, we see that the material, though has got very less amount of platinum, can undergo the 4-electron transfer, which substantiates the previous results. And finally, summarizing the overall effectiveness of this method and the electrocatalyst, we see that these are various other quantitative measures to quantitative measures to prove that the catalyst is good, is workable as a electrocatalyst. We see that the graphite based electrocatalyst is in par or little more than that of the commercial catalyst with 58% of platinum, and the CNT based catalyst is far higher and is almost touching the range which the DOE or the Department of Energy has projected now. So now the next step is to understand the durability of this electrocatalyst. So we cycled the electrocatalyst for 500 fuel cell load test, and we found that the material does not lose its strength even after 500 cycles of load test. Though 500 cycle is a little lesser as of now, still the experiments are continuing, and we have proved that this material will be a useful material for the futures to come. And in conclusion, I would like to point out that this is the first report in generation of metal nanoparticles without any chemicals, without any sacrificial reducing agent, and only by use of utilizing TiO2 as a photocatalyst to prepare a viable electrocatalyst. Thank you very much.